The following is going to be a demo about how we support our mentees to explore their values. Values are a really important part of who we are. We all have values, but sometimes we're not aware of what they are. Once we've discovered them, it can help us align who we are with what we do and can be a really useful way of helping us make decisions that align with our values. So Nat, we're going to have a short coaching session today, and I just wanted to find out what would be useful to explore.
Yes, I'm a bit frustrated at the moment with a big system change at work and sort of how work is communicated with everybody, and there's a bit of ill feeling. So I think that's a kind of current thing for me
Mm.
now.
And as you think about that, what's the kind of question that you're sort of asking yourself that you'd like to resolve?
Um, I appreciate that systems do need to change, and I'm not averse to that, but I'm just a bit um, confused as to why this is particularly sort of upsetting me, this particular sort of situation.
Mm-hmm. So is it a question around why is this upsetting to you?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. And where would you like to be at the end of the conversation that you're not currently?
Um, it might be helpful to just explore this to give me some new perspective on maybe understanding a bit better what's behind my own emotions towards this change, and
Mm-hmm.
that might help me to deal with them better. But I think for me, it's just I maybe just don't know that bit yet. So just try and maybe thinking some new thoughts would be helpful in that area.
Okay, and let me just check. It sounds like there's something quite sort of personal going on for you here as you're thinking about this and how it's affecting you. Have I understood that?
Yeah, it's more just recognizing these sort of emotions, but not really knowing where they're coming from.
Okay. So sometimes it's useful when these sort of big things are going on and how, knowing how it's impacting us to explore our values. So knowing what our values are can give us a new perspective on a situation and can help us make some decisions around that situation as well. There's an exercise that we could do to kind of uncover your values and use those in some way here. So is that something you'd be interested in trying?
Yeah, that sounds good.
Okay, so the exercise is going to involve a bit of drawing and writing. So you'll need pen and paper if
Okay.
you've got pen and paper handy.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're just going to park the issue from work for a moment and we're just going to have a little bit of fun with this exercise, but hopefully it'll be useful to you. So first of all, I'm going to invite you to draw someone on your piece of paper that you really admire. And when you do your drawing, just leave a bit of space around that person because you're going to write some words around it. So first of all, just draw someone that you really admire. You don't have to tell me who it is. Uh,
Hmm.
and it can be anybody. It could be someone that you know. It could be somebody from history. It could be a politician. It could be friends, family, a fictional character. But someone, when you think about them, you think, I really admire them. I look up to them. You want to maybe emulate them, but there's just something about them.
Okay.
Okay. Right. Have you drawn your person?
Yes, I've drawn my person.
Great.
They might look a
Um,
bit like a stick man, but
That's
they're
fine.
perfect.
No judgment here. Now just label them. You might want to put a badge on them with their name or just write their name underneath. You don't need to share it with me, but it's just so
Okay.
that you put that name to it. Okay. So as you think about that person, I'm going to invite you to write down as many qualities that come to mind as you think about them. So what are all their qualities? So for example, it could be, I don't know, sense of humor or, but whatever qualities you admire in them, just jot them down
Okay.
around.
Mhm. Okay.
Okay. Just see if you can think of one or two more.
Mhm.
Okay. So just out of interest, how many words have you put down?
9.
9. Okay. So we're just going to put that to one side for a moment. Now I'm going to invite you to draw on a different piece of paper, or, you know, flip over the page, someone that you really don't admire at all. Maybe somebody that frustrates you or annoys you, or you just have no kind of attraction to them in any way. They might be even slightly repulsive. So this again could be someone that you know or don't know, a historical figure, a fictional figure, someone in the media, but just someone that just really gets under your skin in a negative way.
Okay.
And then once you've drawn them, again, just write their name, a little badge, or just underneath the picture.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. So this time, and this is a little bit tricky, I want you to write down the things that they are lacking. So the things that they don't have. So for example, if they are impatient, the thing that they don't have is patience. So you write down the thing that they're lacking. And again, just write down as many things that they're lacking as you can think of.
Okay. Okay.
Any more?
Squeeze out another one. Oh yeah, that's a good one. It's a good one to finish.
Okay, great. Okie dokie. So how many have you written down there?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10.
Okay. And may I just invite you just to tell me a couple, just to check that we've got this the right way around. So these are the things that they're lacking. So just tell me a couple of things you've written.
Humanity, vulnerability, shame.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Great. So I want you to look across both of your pictures now. And as you look at the words that you've written down for each of those things, pick out the ones that are the most important to you, and try and pick about 5 that are the things that are the most important to you.
From both of the
Yeah, across both the
okay.
pictures. There might be some that overlap, but as you look across both pictures, what are the most important qualities that you've put down? You can go for your top 5.
Okay. Okay, I've got 5.
Okay, and were out of interest, were there any that were similar across the 2 pictures?
Yeah,
Yeah,
probably about half were the same.
Okay, great. So if you don't mind sharing with me the 5 that you've picked out, I'm just going to jot them down.
Sure. So there's integrity, vulnerability,
Vulnerability,
selflessness,
selflessness,
kindness,
kindness,
and humanity.
and humanity. Okay, so now we're going to do a little prioritization exercise. So I'm going to ask you to pick between 2 of these. And this is just to get a little bit of an order in terms of your the one that's most important to the one that's least important out of those 5. Now, obviously, they're all important to you because you've picked those out of all the things that you put down, but this is just to give them a little bit of an extra order. So if you could just pick one out of integrity and vulnerability, which would be most important to you?
Integrity.
And if you could just pick one between integrity and selflessness, which would it be?
Integrity.
And if you could pick one between integrity and kindness?
Integrity.
And one between integrity and humanity?
Yeah, I think probably integrity again.
Okay. Now, moving down to the next one on the list, vulnerability. If you could just pick one between vulnerability and selflessness, what would it be?
Vulnerability.
And between vulnerability and kindness,
Vulnerability.
and between vulnerability and humanity.
Vulnerability.
And now, if you could just pick one between selflessness and kindness,
Kindness.
between selflessness and humanity,
Selflessness.
and if you could just pick one between kindness and humanity.
Kindness.
Okay, so that's given us an order. So I'm just going to read you the order
Yeah.
as it comes out there. So integrity is your top one,
Yeah.
vulnerability,
Yeah.
then kindness,
Yeah.
then selflessness,
Yeah.
and then humanity. How does that land? Just that order?
Yeah. I think so vulnerability and integrity were on
Hmm.
both,
Hmm.
kind of, with for both people, they're the opposite, and they're the kind of two that stood out above the others. The others were a bit more of a scatter. So yeah, I think those as the top two fits.
Hmm. Okay. So the qualities that we admire and see in others are usually a reflection of the values that we hold dear. So these are probably pretty close to your core values.
Oh, right.
So
Okay.
this exercise is really to tease out your core values. As I say that, how much does that resonate?
Yeah, I think that's probably true. There might be some others out there, but yeah, these definitely resonate, especially those top two, I think, integrity and vulnerability. I think
Hmm.
are definitely high up in terms of what I count as important.
Okay, so we're just going to spend a little bit of time maybe just looking at those top two. We could spend time looking at all of them, but just for the sake of this demo, we'll look at the top two, and then we're going to relate that a little bit to your current situation. Does that sound okay?
Sure. Yeah.
So first of all, tell me what's important to you about integrity.
It's sort of being real. It's sort of seeing somebody and knowing them and knowing that you've got the essence, the truth of that person. They're not pretending. They're yeah, they're being real to themselves and they're being real to you. So that then brings feelings of trust and loyalty and depth in a relationship, which is something that I really prize, like good relationships with good conversations and actually both being real and being and having integrity.
Hmm. Hmm. When you think about your current workplace where there's this issue going on, how much are you able to bring integrity into the workplace?
Yeah, maybe that's a bit of the frustration is that I don't know that you're always seeing actually what's going on in a situation at work. So you're sold a certain sort of bit of information, but you don't quite know whether that's the not necessarily the truth, whether it's just a bit of a spin on things. And when an organisation is making big changes that affect you, I think probably what I'm realising is I really need to know that those decisions are being made with integrity, or and how they're communicated. It's so that I can really buy into them. And I just wonder whether this current situation at work, whether I'm not feeling that so much, and whether I'm a little bit suspicious or cynical that there's maybe an agenda or something else going on. And I might be wrong, but maybe that's what's making me feel more negative towards this change than that. And that had almost surprised me because I'm not opposed to change per se, but maybe that's just why I'm not feeling the enthusiasm for the change because I don't know whether I quite trust it.
Yeah, okay. So what could you do to sort of, if you wanted to dial up your own integrity, even by another 10% within the workplace, what would that look like?
Yeah, well, interestingly, it probably leads into number two. So being vulnerable
Hmm.
brings that they're kind of a pair, aren't they? So in order to have integrity, you probably need to be vulnerable and honest. And you can't be vulnerable and honest unless you kind of have integrity in who you are and what you're saying. So maybe if I make myself more vulnerable in how I'm feeling about this and communicate that, then that it may be that I get reassured that actually this is a very genuine change with good motives, and I then get more information to reassess that level of integrity for this decision, and maybe that makes me feel happier. But at the moment, I haven't really said anything, and maybe that's why I'm not getting what I need. So, but it might mean that I have to take that step of vulnerability myself in order to yeah, to move that forward, which is
Mm,
fine. That's a bit scary, but yeah, I think something has to happen for me to really engage with this. So I'm up for doing that if needed.
mm. So let me just push you on that a little bit, if that's okay. What action could you take that might allow you to show a bit of your vulnerability and practice your integrity?
I think rather than just resisting the change or sort of negatively talking the change, say, oh, why are we doing this? And actually being positive about having a conversation with somebody in management. So there's a manager that I relate to well. So probably just need to have an open conversation, just say, to be honest, I'm not really on board with this because I'm sensing maybe this or this. Please just talk to me about this, tell me what's actually going on, reassure me. And if there is a bit of an agenda that I'm not aware of, just tell me about it. Help me to understand it, and
Mm,
just sort of lay my cards on the table a little bit, face to face. I think, that could be the way forward with this.
mm,
That feels like that might be a good way forward.
mm. How comfortable do you feel with that idea?
A bit uncomfortable because I think the nature of vulnerability is a bit uncomfortable because we can pretend everything's fine and we can, smile and nod, but if we're really honest with ourselves and with others, it does open us up a little bit. But
Mhm,
I think my experience of becoming more vulnerable or choosing to be vulnerable in certain situations, usually it does work well, but it's a slight risk to you personally, I think, having these sorts of experiences, but I'm willing to risk that, I think, in this situation. Just I think it'll help me just engage with all this big change in a much more positive way, hopefully. And that means less pain for me and probably less pain for the organization if I can bring that about just by having a conversation. So I think it is worth it.
okay. And just to check in, what do you need to resource you to have that conversation?
I probably need to just have a little think about what I'm going to say and
Mhm,
how I'm going to say it, just to
mm,
kind of think about what kind of outcomes do I want from this. So maybe just maybe we could spend a bit of time preparing just for what
mm,
to say in that situation, and then actually pinning it down. So working out a time when my colleagues around where we've got a bit of space, where where it's just the two of us and we can have a sort of chat, and that I'm already sort of prepared to know what to say.
mhm,
Um, might help me to sort of stick with doing it rather than, procrastinating.
mhm. Okay. So just sort of going back to that initial inquiry at the start of our conversation, which was something to do with, how am I feeling around all of this change, the systems change? Where are you now with that?
Yeah, I feel a lot more positive about that now. It's interesting, isn't it? So it's not so much the change, it's sort of how I feel about it. But I felt just a bit confused why I was feeling potentially so negative about it. That felt a bit out of character. And now I think I understand better what's behind that. And it might just be completely ungrounded, and that's all right. But now just having a little bit of a plan and a hope that I can just kind of clear that up and get on, makes me feel really well, more positive about the situation, less suspicious, less cautious.
Yeah, great. Okay. We'll pause there for now, but thanks for sharing all of that.
Thank you.